direct drills straight into the stubble unless the stalk's standing, which can be problematic if it goes into a silage pit, because you've got it can be cut off and then interred this sort of slightly decaying maize stalk. So actually, if you can graze it off in situ, that would probably be better.
Okay. Is there anything that producers, if they're going to be ensiling it, some precautionary steps they can take to make sure that doesn't become a problem?
You can cut a bit higher.
Okay.
And run the rates quite lightly.
Okay. Right. And then earlier you mentioned you need to be thinking about what you're trying to achieve and what you want to be using your cover crop for. So is that going to determine what species / mixtures that you use? Okay.
Yeah.
So for livestock grazers, what are you recommending, or what are you seeing that looks like it's going to be a good choice?
Well, we haven't been looking at any of the. We're looking at the quite simple options, which maybe that's not a nice way of putting it, but so we're looking at how late can you sow Westerworld, Italian ryegrasses, what can something like this very winter active Triticale C100 actually deliver, can it perform in this type of situation? And because we know the grazing performance that can be done on those types of grasses, so, and then the envelope we were sowing mid-November. In that situation, I think you're pushing the envelope quite far on what could actually be successfully sown in some of the other cover crops.
Yeah.
With a known feed value. I think it's probably too late for mustards and that kind of thing as well. So we're just looking at Triticale type options and Italian and Westerworld.
Okay. And then is this data something that you could share with me after we've got our phone call in terms of what you've seen so far in yield? And then I think your next month's cuts that you're going to be measuring, that might make our print deadline. If we could get that in too, that would be quite useful. Okay. In terms of destruction of these cover crops, what is best practice? How should it be done?
All these questions are very, I could give you about 12 answers. So the more you destroy a cover crop, so if you're using it purely as a nitrogen accumulation, the more that you mix it within the soil profile, or if you spray it off beforehand and then mix it in, the faster you hasten the rate of breakdown within the soil, so the faster the nitrogen will then be released to the following crop.
Okay.
Now this is particularly prevalent when you're talking about some of the clovers and things, which have a very low carbon to nitrogen ratio, which means they release their nitrogen incredibly quickly. And even some of these quite lush grasses and cereals will actually release their nutrients quite quickly. One of the key things with interring any type of crop, like cover crop of any description, is actually you need to get good establishment of the following crop, and you don't want to compromise that. So I would normally say, and also you don't want them to continue, or you don't want them to change from being useful into something nuisance in the following crop.
Yeah.
So I would normally say that after you've taken your cut, or you've grazed them off, you could spray them off, and then depending on how open it was and what crop you want to do, you might be able to direct drill in, or you might need to just do some minimum cultivation and then drill in. to your following crops, depending on what you were looking to do.
Okay.
I don't necessarily think you have to fully invert because they haven't been in the ground long enough.
What do you mean by fully invert?
Plow it in.
Okay.
I don't think, depending on what we'll know more when we cut them, but I don't think you would need, I think you could probably get away with spraying them off and drilling in.
Now, will some of your, I guess, destruction tactics vary based on what your following crop is going to be? So say you're going to be putting in a cereal crop. What would be your best practice versus if you're going to be establishing maybe another maize stand or even like a grass lay or something?
Yeah. So if I was going with a cereal crop, I probably wouldn't do as much cultivation work, and you'd be able to kind of minimum tillage and establish. If you're probably going into a maize crop, you'd probably have to do more work because maize is quite sensitive little beast, and it requires, even though it's large seed, it actually needs a very good seed bed, fine seed bed, particularly with removal of some of the chemicals that we now have.
Yeah.
And if it was a grass crop, and you wanted to put it back into a grass lay, then I would take the grasses through to establish, I'd take them through to yield, and then I might even let them run on and then cut them down really tight and then drill in again. Drill another grass lay in.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be quite open, especially.
Okay.
It was quite westward.
All right. For people that are going to be doing things like cereal and maize, compaction may be an issue or a concern of theirs. And so if they're thinking of putting in another crop on top of that, there may be cause for concern of that being more of an issue. So what would be your response to that?
I'm not saying you haven't got time to do remedial work, and if you feel you have compaction issues, then you need to deal with remedial work either by shaker aerating or lifting, flat lifting, or whatever it is, their common practice way to try and alleviate the compaction.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the worst things that causes compaction is the decline in organic matter within the soil. And although this is in quite a short period of time, these come across, actually roots being in and helping with aggregate stability and helping with pea stability over time might make it more resilient so that compaction is lessened going forward over a sustained period of time. You won't see instant benefit from doing one cover crop, but if it becomes more of a practice, you might well see you have a lessening effect on the soil from it's able to be more resilient.
So I know you haven't fully completed your trial yet, but do you think it might be a possibility if a producer is going to be going back into maize, and they're putting in a cover crop that has good root structure, is nitrogen fixing, it's going to give them that added biomass. Is that potentially going to benefit the following year's maize crop?
There is, from a literature perspective, if you look at the literature, there's mixed reviews on it. But on the whole, you should see a benefit. It may not be instant, but you should derive a benefit from using cover crops in the following crop.
Okay. That is all the questions that I had ready for you. Is there anything else that you feel like I should know or should be included in this piece?
I don't think so.